Shabbat Shalom from Under the Dome. My name is Noel. This is the Unexpected Cosmology. All praise and glory, of course, goes to our Father in heaven and his son, Yahushua HaMashiach. Or for you Greek-speaking Italians out there, Jesus Christus. What a week it's been. Where do we even begin? I could just sit here with my coffee and just go over those details for you again if you want. Of course, we're here for the weekly Torah portions. Thank you for making this a weekly tradition in your home. And if you are not able to, if you haven't been attending our Talk Discord group, which is a 2-hour live conversation before I go live on here, you really missed out this week. It's good every week, but this week it was really lively, discussing whatever it was that we saw happen on the TV earlier this week. If you happen to be watching this video 2 or 3 or 4, 10 years from now, I am referring to what happened on July, I think it was 13th, 2024. You can look that up and see what event happened on that day. It's been a good week. Let me show you this here. Last night, I gave my presentation on the Anunnaki. I went through Zechariah Sitchin's book, and I gave my whole book report on this. You can't really see it on camera, but this book right here, all 14 tablets, and very intellectual, very deep, very thorough research. Go check it out. It's a 2.5-hour podcast. Of course, you get to stare at my lovely mug on there as well if you choose to go the YouTube route. Let's get right into this. Now, one of the things that I have stated in the past, the way I am starting to see Torah, I'm starting to see the Torah in a number of different ways. And that does happen as you grow older and you start, studying it out more and comparing and stuff. I'm starting to understand the Torah. Some of you are going to be like, no, duh, Noel. But I'm starting to see it as a father-child relationship. Okay, we have a Father in heaven. Of course, I do believe, as you guys have heard many times before, that Yahuwah, that's the paleo for Yahuwah or Yahweh or Yahweh, however you pronounce it, and I guess in English, Jehovah. But I believe that Yahuwah is the Son of the Most High, that he is Yahushua HaMashiach. Side point for the moment. Let's give a scenario. Imagine you're watching. Well, let me just say really quickly, the way I'm seeing the Torah is that he puts out these very simple commands. It starts with, say, in the Garden of Eden in paradise, where he's like, don't eat that fruit. And then they go and eat the fruit, and he's like, all right, I think I need to be more specific about some things because clearly you failed at a very, very simple task. All right. So, and imagine as a parent, you tell your child not to cross the street and that they have to hold your hand if they cross the street. And then they do cross the street and you're like, all right, I'm going to have to kind of be more specific and detail oriented about what you're not to do. And you see that happen all through the Torah where they rebel. He gives out some very simple commands and then they rebel. And then he has to either lay down more laws or he has to clarify. Tonight is going to be one of those where it's reactionary, where he's going to be like, all right, you clearly didn't get it the first 10 times that I told you. So I'm going to tell you again. So imagine like in a sitcom from the 80s or 90s. It's like a family sitcom, a scenario where the father tells his teenage son, and he has like teenage sons and daughters, but he tells the oldest, he's like, all right, your mother and I are going away for the weekend. This is the first time we've gone away for the weekend. You are man for the house. And here's your instructions. Your instructions are that you are not to invite anybody over. Okay. Nobody's to be in this house. You are not to invite anybody over. And he's like, oh, come on, Dad. Can I have my friend? He's like, no. While my mother and I are gone, we will be back on Sunday in 2 nights. Do not invite anybody over. And so, of course, and he agrees, okay, and of course, the mom and the dad, they leave, they drive off. And within 30 seconds to a minute, one of their friends shows up at the door and he's got like pizza or something, right? So here's the temptation. And the oldest son says, my parents said that I'm not to invite anybody over. And then the other guy with the pizza says, but you didn't invite me over. I didn't know about those instructions. I didn't get invited over. I came over. Your dad didn't say anything about that. And of course, the son, he knows that the intent of the law is that no, he's not to have anybody over. The not inviting people over is kind of almost a mute point. And he's like, oh, yeah. And he invites him over. And then, of course, these hot babes come over and then a party starts, how it goes down. And then, pretty soon the whole school shows up. And then somebody steals the other school mascot and they come, the dad, of course, has to turn around, right? The parents, they don't make it the weekend. They walk in this terrible situation where their house is trashed and there's somebody boxing a kangaroo in the living room, right? And so the father's like, okay, you clearly, you didn't get the rules. So now you're grounded for the next month and I'm going to lay more ground rules for you to make this tighter because apparently I had too loose on you. That's how I see the Torah unfolding. So that's what we're going to be going at tonight. Once again, welcome. Last week was the Balaam episode. Actually, 2 weeks ago, what happened was, so in recap, 2 weeks ago, the Canaanites, I guess you could say, the people around Bashan, they unleashed Og, the last of the Rephaim. And I showed you that he appeared to be a protector of the dead. The question is Bashan, is that somehow identified with Sheol? Some really interesting stuff going on. And there have been like grave markers and things like that where Og was found to be considered a protector of the dead. Well, that didn't work. He was killed off. According to the Aramaic Targum, Moshe took him out like Jack and the Beanstalk, took an axe to his ankle or whatever. And so they're like, all right, well, let's bring in Balaam. And then I showed you how Balaam is the duality to Moshe. He's like the polar opposite. If we want to get like another movie scenario, dark side, light side, Star Wars, Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, like Moshe is the light, he is the darkness. They are opposite wizards. Moshe's not a wizard. I'm not saying that, but you guys get the idea, right? They are checkerboard duality opposites. And his whole point is that he as a prophet and someone who did prophesy for Yah, interestingly enough, he gave a very interesting star and rod of or scepter prophecy that then the Magi brought to fruition. He realized that he couldn't curse Israel as he was paid to do, but he blessed Israel, but he could also lead them into temptation. And so we discussed that. And this is what is reactionary to what we're going into this week. We saw in the Balaam text that Balaam overhears a judgment from the divine council in heaven. This is not in the Bible. This is a separate document that has been found in Jordan, in the same area as where Balaam was in this incident. He hears a judgment from the divine council in heaven involving specific Canaanite gods, Elohim, who were being demoted. And it was kind of a sad pronouncement. It's kind of interesting. I actually think that it backs up the Exodus accounts, and it was probably around the same time where he hears, I think it was, it might have been Ishtar or Ashtoreth, that she was being demoted from her land there in Canaan. We talked about Balaam's talking donkey. We talked about the talking donkey, which reminded us of the first confusion of tongues and jubilees, which was animals no longer speaking the universal language. So I would say that the second confusion of tongues was Babel. The first was when Adam and his woman left paradise and they could no longer communicate with the animals. But we did see an example of a wolf that spoke to Yaakov, that would be Jacob, in the book of Jasher. And also the fact that Solomon could once more speak with the animals. I covered the idea, according to the Aramaic Targum, the donkey says that he is unclean and couldn't enter the kingdom. Really interesting thoughts. And then I showed with the book of Revelation and unclean animals. And I let you guys kind of work that out because I know that when it comes to pets, dogs, cats, that kind of thing, those are, of course, unclean animals. Nothing wrong with owning those. And I'll let you guys work those out with your own thoughts. You guys kind of know how I operate. I'm a bit stoic. I'm just kind of looking at the text and say, okay, this is what the text have to say. Kind of let that direct my understanding of spiritual truth. But at the end of the day, I don't know. I don't know. Will there be dogs in heaven? I'm leaving Yah to decide that one. I would love it. I've had dogs up my whole life up until the time I had children, and I would love to have. There's one dog in particular who is. I will be shocked if he makes it to heaven. Let's just put it that way. There's a few others that were total angels on this earth. Balaam still existed as a spirit's prototype in the apostolic writings. We see Balaam going around in the New Testament. We saw Balaam in Pergamum at the seat of Satan in Revelation. Of course, I talked about the star and the scepter prophecy, which was fulfilled with the Magi, who adhered to the teachings of Nimrod, interestingly enough, according to the... I won't tell you where I'm sourcing that. You're going to have to watch the video for yourself to figure that one out. The Cain prophecy appears. Oh yeah, we dug up the Cain prophecy in the Paleo, which appears to state that Cain was still alive at the time of Balaam, not physically, but his spirits, his ruach, still wandering the earth like a Nephilim demon that he kind of was, and that he was there for explicit purpose, similar to Og's purpose. We saw Phinehas the Zealot, which we will revisit him this week. And of course, I talked about the duality of Moshe and Balaam. So let's get right into it. Now, I want to also stress before I read the Torah portions tonight, we are reading from the Paleo Hebrew, which is very special. This comes from Pamela's translation. I got word that she just finished Deuteronomy this week, so we are now in the editing process, getting it ready to premiere in about 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, whenever we start the Deuteronomy Torah portions. And I understand that there's a lot of words in here that are hard for people to follow. Look, it's hard for me to read them, all right? And let's just be honest here. Reading in the English is hard enough, and following in the English is hard enough, all right? So there are individuals that tell me that they love the research that's being done here, but they just can't follow the Paleo. It's just too hard for them. And so just so you guys all can see here, I put the King James right next to the Paleo every single week so you guys can follow on screen. We also, of course, I'm not trying to make a sale here, but we do. We sell this book in the store. You can go get it, as well as the Torah portion study guides, which just what you see here, the King James lined with the Paleo Hebrew, and then I take the Greek LXX and the Aramaic Targum. You can put them up side by side for your study purposes and follow along back at home. So when I have a hard time, when I struggle with the word and you struggle hearing it, you can at least look at the word on screen or in your book and help follow along. Thank you all for being here with me. Let's get into this. And Yahweh, the ever-living, set words in order toward Al-Mashahad to declare, Phinehas, or in the Paleo, Phinehas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron the priest, has, with his zeal, turned away my hot displeasure from the sons of Yasharel, and with his zeal, my ardent jealousy in their midst. So we're going to see last week the ending rehearsed again, where what Phinehas did is he took like a big spear or a lance, a stake. I've seen illustrations of a long sword, but he takes a long spear like a lance, and he stabs the man and the woman having intercourse in the tabernacle. Of course, this was a temple prostitute. I'll talk about her. We'll get into her and who the man was, but this is just rehearsing that, refreshing our memory from last week. Therefore, I did not completely finish the sons of Yasharel in my jealousy because of Phinehas. On that account, I declare, behold, I give unto him my covenant of shalom, a covenant of peace. And it shall exist unto him and unto his seed after him the covenant of a perpetual priesthood, because he was jealous for his Alahaya, and that would be for his God. And he made a covering atonement over the sons of Yasharel, and the name of the man of Yasharel who was slain along with the Midianite woman let's see, what's his name here in English? Zimri, or in the Paleo, Zamariah, son of Salua, a lifted up chief of a house, a father among the Simeonites. Now put a flag on the Simeonites there. We're going to be talking about that, why it's so important That, like we saw with Korah's rebellion, Korah was a Levite, but he teamed up with the Reubenites. And it seems like the people leading the charge this time are the Simeonites. And why is that? And the name of the woman who was slain was Cosbi, or Kazabiah, daughter of Zur, the head of a house. He was a chief in Midian. So it seems like they were both top dogs of their fields. And Yahuwah, the ever-living, said a word in order toward Al-Mashahah to declare, bring into distress the Midianites, or the Madayanuyam, and strike against them, for they brought distress upon you with their machinations, when they acted fraudulently unto you over the matter of Kazabiah, or Cosbi, the daughter of a lifted up chief of Midian, their sister, who was slain in the matter of Peor, or Fa'ayor. And it existed after the plague that Yahuwah. So now we're going to read a whole section about a census. All right. So, which I'll be talking a little bit about tonight too. So we're going to see a lot of numbering of the tribes here. And it existed after the plague that Yahuwah, the ever-living, declared toward Al-Mashahah and toward Al-Elazar, or Eleazar, son of Aaron the priest, to say, lift up the heads of all the sons of Yasharel from a son aged 20 years and higher, according to their father's house. He who is able to go forth to war in Yasharel. And Mashahah and Eleazar set a word in order with them in the dry, arid region of Moab, over against the Yarden, near, I guess that's Jericho, or Jericho, to say, number the people from a son aged 20 years and higher, like that which Yahuwah the ever-living commanded Mashahah, and the sons of Yasharel, all those going forth from Aratz Mitzrayim, or the land of Egypt. Reuben was firstborn of Yasharel. These are the sons of Reuben for Hanok, the families of the Hanakiah, for which is interesting because I think that's the word for Enoch there. For Palu, for Chatzaron. This is, I'm sorry guys, this is one of those name chapters. There's gonna be a lot of names in here, so just hang with me, read along if you can. For Chatzaron, the families of the Chatzaranuya. For Keremiah, the families of the Keremiah. These are the families of the Reubenites, and they existed of their number 3 and 40,730. And the sons of Palu is Eliab, and the sons of Eliab are Namawal and Dathan and Abiram. And of course, remember what happened to Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Reuben. They teamed up with the wrong guy, and the earth swallowed them. And they were, of course, Dathan and Abiram were pretty rotten guys all the way back. This is the same Dathan and Abiram, called out ones of the assembly, who contended against Mashahah and against Aaron in the gathered assemblies of Korah, when they contended against Yahuwah the ever-living, and Ha'aratz opened up her mouth and swallowed them down. And Korah was among that assembly, 250 men who died in the consuming fire, and they existed for a sign, but the sons of Korah died not. So his line did live on, his sons. Oh boy, here we go. A lot of families. These are the sons of Simeon, according to their families. For Namawol, the families of the Namaliah. For Yamaon, the families of the Yamayanuya. For Yakayan, the families of the Yakayanuya. For Zarak, the families of the Zarakiah. For Shaul, the families of the Shauliah. These are the families of the Simeonites, or the Shama Anuya, 22,200. The sons of Gad, according to their families. For Zephon, the families of Zephaniah. For Chagiah, the families of Chagiah. For Shaunuya, for the families of Shaunuya. For Azanuya, the families of the Azanuya. For Araya, the families of the Araya. For Araud, I should have had Pamela come and read this week, so I could just sit here like this as she's reading her translation. For Araud, the families of the Dia. For Aralea, the families of the Aralea. These are the families of the sons of Gad, according to their numbered ones, 40,500. The sons of Yehuda were Er and Onan, but Er and Onan died, and this would be, the Er and Onan, the two meat brothers, died in the land of Canaan. And the sons of Yehuda existed according to their families. For Shalaha, the families of the Shalaha, the Shalahiah. For Pharatz, the families of the Pharatziah. For Zarach, the families of the Zerachiah. And he existed the sons of Pharatz. For Chatzaron, the families of the Chatzarahunuya. For Chamaul, the families of the Chamauwaliah. These are the families of Yehuda, according to their numbered ones, 670,500. The sons of Issachar, or Yasha Shekar, according to their families. For Tola, the families of Tola. For Pua, the families of the Puanuya. For Yasha'ub, the families of the Yasha'ubaya, or you see the Jasubites. I put, some of the King James names in here just to help me out through this reading. For Shamaron, the families of the Shamaranuya. These are the families of Yeshachar, according to the numbered ones, 460,300. The sons of Zebulun, according to their families. For Sarad, the families of the Saradiah. For Alaun, or Elon, the families of the Alaunuya. For Jalil, or Yakala'al, the families of the Yakala'aleah. These are the families of Zebulun, according to their numbered ones, 6,500. The sons of Joseph, according to their families, was Manasseh and Ephraim. These are the sons of Manasseh. For Machayar, the families for the Machayariah, and Machayar fathered Galaad. For Galaad, the families of the Galaadea. These are the sons of Galaad. You guys just love watching me up here doing this, don't you? That's the only reason you guys keep coming back week after week. For Azar, the families of the Azariah. For Chalak, the families of the Chalakuya. And for Ashariah, the families of the said family. And for Shechem, the families of the Shechemiah. And for Shamayah, the families of the said family. And for Chaphar, the families of the said family. And unto Zealofphinehas, son of Chaphar, existed no son to him, but rather daughters. This is kind of interesting. And the names of the daughters of the said individuals, Zelophehad, were Mechalaha and Nuiah, and Hagalaha, Malakaha, and Zerah-Saha. Let me just see what their names are on this next page. It goes way down here. We'll get there. Oh, here they are. So the daughters of Zelophehad were Mala, and I found this interesting. It says in the King James Noah, which I guess in this case would be a masculine and a feminine name. Maybe there were women named Noah and named their daughters Noah. I don't know. But Mala and Noah and Hogla, Milcah, and Tirzah. These are the families of Manasseh, and their numbered ones were 250,700. These are the sons of Ephraim, according to their families. For Sha'u-Thulak, the families of the said family. For Bakar, the families of the said family. For Thukan, the families of Thukanuya, and these are the sons of Sha'u-Thulak. For Aaron, the families of Aranuya. These are the families of the sons of Ephraim, according to their numbered ones, 230,500. These are the sons of Joseph, according to their families. These are the sons of Benjamin, or Binu-Yaman, according to their families. For Balae, the families of the said family. For Ahibol, the families of Ashabaleah. For Akayaram, the families of the person. For Shapha-Ufam, Where does it say that over here? I didn't highlight that. The families of the said individual. For Cha-U-Pham, the families of the said individual, and the sons who existed unto Balaam, Arad, and Naaman, the families of the Aridaea. For Naaman, the families of Naaman. These are the sons of Benjamin, or Banu Yaman, according to their families, and their numbered ones were 540,600. These are the sons of Dan. I'm so glad that Dan is universal in all languages. Gad and Dan. Thank Yah for that. Dan. Doesn't matter if you go to Japan or India or Africa, it's still Dan. Just good old Dan. These are the sons of Dan according to their families. For Shukam, the families of the said family. These are the families of Dan according to their families. All the families of Sha'ukamiah by their numbered ones are 460,400. The sons of Asher, according to their families. For Yamanuha, the families of the Yamanuha. For Yeshauya, the families of Yeshauha. For Beraiah, the families of the family. Of the sons of Beraiah. For Chabar, the families of Chabaraya. For Malachiah, the families of the said individual. And the name of the daughter of Asher is Sharak. These are the families of the sons of Asher according to their numbered ones, 350,400. For Yatzar, the families of the Yatzaraya. For Shalom, the families of the Shalamiah. These are the families of the Naphathuliah, according to their families, and their numbered ones are 540,400. I'm guessing that's Naphtali. These are the numbered ones, the sons of Yasharel, 600,000 and 1,730. The division of the land ordered. And Yahuwah the ever-living said a word in order toward Al-Mashahah to declare, unto these you shall divide Ha'aratz, or the land, for an inheritance according to the number of the names. Unto the great you will increase his inheritance, and unto the few you will diminish their inheritance, each man to the month of his numbered ones, so he shall be gifted his inheritance. The families of the Lawahyam, or the Levites. And these are the number ones of Levi, according to their families. For Gershon, the families of the said individual. For Kuhath, the families of the said individual. For Merariah, the families of the individual. These are the families of Lawaya, or Levites, the families of the Labanuya, the families of the Chaba-Ranuya, the families of the Makaliah, the families of the Ma'ushaya, the families of the Kurakiah. And Kuhath fathered Amaram, and the name of Amaram's covenant woman was Jochebed, the daughter of Lawaya, she who brought forth unto Lawaya in Mitzrayim. And she brought forth unto Amaram Aaron and Mashahah and Miriam their sister. So, of course, Jochebed, or Jochebed, I believe, in the King James. Of course, you guys know that's the mother of Moses and his brother and sister. And unto Aaron were brought forth Nadab and Abihu, and didn't go so well for them, and Eliezer and Athumar. And Nadab died, Abiyahu also, and they're bringing near strange fire to the face of Yahuwah, the ever-living. That would be back in Leviticus. And he existed, their numbered ones, 320,000, all males from a son of a month and higher, for they were not numbered among the sons of Yasharel. For there was not given unto them an inheritance in the midst of the sons of Yasharel. Speaking, of course, of the Levites, they don't get an inheritance. These are those numbered by Mashahah and Eliezer the priest, who numbered the sons of Yasharel in the dry and arid region of Moab, over against the Yarden near Jericho, or Jericho. But there existed not a single man from those who were numbered by Mashahah and Aaron the priest when they numbered the sons of Yasharel in the wilderness of Sinai. I always love that. Instead of Sinai, Sinai. For Yahuwah the ever-living declared to them, dying he shall die in the wilderness. And there remained not a single man from them, except conditionally Caleb, son of Yephanuah, and Yahushai, that would be Joshua or Yahushua, son of Nun. Laws of inheritance. So remember now, we are dealing with, I guess in this case, a case study comes up based on the father with the daughters. And then she approached the daughters of Zelophehad, son of Chaphar, son of Galaad, son of Machir, son of Manasseh, son of Joseph. And these are the names of his daughters. He had Machalaha, Nuach, that would be the Noah name in the King James, and Chagalaha, or I guess that's Hogla in the King James, and Malakaha or Milcah, and Tirzah. And she stood to the face of Meshahah and to the face of Eleazar the priest and the face of the lifted up chiefs and all the congregation by the entrance of the tent of meeting to declare, our father died in the wilderness, but he was not among the assembly of those who gathered against Yahweh the ever-living in the assemblies of Korach. For he died in his own iniquities, and no sons existed to him. For what purpose should the name of our father be scratched off from among his families? Because there was no son to him, given to us a possession in the midst of the brothers of our father. So hopefully you guys understand the scenario here. There is, father is dead, no sons, who gets the inheritance? And Meshahah brought near the judgment to the face of Yahweh the ever-living. And Yahweh the ever-living spoke toward Al-Meshahah to say, upright and honest is the purpose plan of the daughters of Zelophehad. In giving, you will give to them a possession of an inheritance in the midst of their father's brothers. And you will cause the inheritance of their father to pass into them. And toward the sons of Yasharel, you will set forth these words to say, if a man shall die and has no son unto him, then he will cause his inheritance to pass along to his daughter. But conditionally, if to him there is lacking a daughter, so conditionally now, he has no son, goes to a daughter, but now he has no daughter. Where does it go? He is lacking a daughter, then you shall give his inheritance unto his brothers. So this would be like an uncle situation, right? The father's brothers. But conditionally, if it to him there is lacking brothers, and he will give his inheritance unto his father's brothers. But conditionally, if there is lacking unto his father's brothers, and you will give his inheritance to his nearest blood relation to him from his families. So it's kind of interesting. It goes to his brothers. It avoids his sisters. It goes to his father's brothers. So this would be now like a great uncle. But if he doesn't have a father or father's brothers, I guess it goes back. Then it says his nearest relation. So then it would maybe go back to his sisters. Goes back to the women at that time because they would be the nearest relative. I could be wrong about that. Then you give his inheritance to his nearest blood relation to him from his families, and he shall take possession of her, and it shall exist unto the sons of Yasharel an ordinance, a judgment, like that which has been commanded by Yahweh the ever-living unto Meshahah. The death of Meshahah, or Moses ordained. And Yahweh the ever-living spoke toward Al-Meshahah, ascend toward the Mount Abarim, and observe the earth which I have given into the sons of Yasharel. And after observing, you will be gathered toward your people. You, just as Aaron your brother was gathered, just as you were bitterly rebellious against my mouth in the wilderness of Zon. That's kind of really interesting to say he was rebellious against his mouth. In the assembly's bitter contention, failing to regard me as Kudash at the water before their eyes, at the water of Meribath in the wilderness of Zon. We went through the story probably 2 or 3 weeks ago now. And I pointed out when Paul says that the rock, which the water flowed out of, followed them through the wilderness, and that the rock was Mashiach, was Messiah. Really interesting, because now the individual speaking, Yahuwah, is accrediting himself there in that position. So just, another a clue to drop in the bucket of who Yahuwah is. And Meshahah set words in order toward Yahuwah, the ever-living, to declare, Yahuwah, the Alahayah, of the Ruachath of all flesh. So that would be the spirits, right? Plural for Ruach. Set a man over the assembly who will go forth to their faces, and who will go out before their faces, and who will lead them out and will bring them in, so that the assemblies of Yahuwah will not exist like sheep, which lacks to them a shepherd. And Yahuwah, the ever-living, spoke toward Al-Meshahah. Take to yourself, this would be Joshua or Yahushua, but Yahusha son of Nun, a man who has Ruach in him. How exciting is that he has Ruach in him? And we would assume this is the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit. But, there are, interestingly enough, 7 Ruach from the Father, right? And Chokmah, or wisdom, is one of them, and Yahweh is one of them, too. And he shall take a stand to the face of Eleazar the priest, and to the face of all the assembly, and a charge shall be laid upon him before their eyes. And from your heavy weight of splendor you shall gift upon him, for the purpose that all the gathered assemblies of the sons of Yasharel shall hear and obey. And he shall stand to the face of Eleazar the priest to inquire the judgment of our Rayam. Let me just look at this real quick. The word is for lights. Excuse me. I got to find my place now. Where was I? There we are. To the face of Yahweh, the ever-living, at his mouth he shall go forth, and at his mouth he shall come in, he and all the sons of Yasharel with him. And he took Yahushua and made him to stand to the face of Eleazar the priest, and to the face of the gathered assembly. And he supported his hands over him, and gave him a charge as Yahweh, the ever-living, had purposely planned in the hand of Meshachah. And now we're going to go into a large segment about daily offerings and, of course, Passover, which I started out saying that it's like it seems like Yahweh is just rehearsing all this stuff again as he is charging, getting ready to replace Moshe. And now, of course, Aaron and Miriam are dead as well. And Yahweh, the ever-living, said a word in order toward Al-Mashah to declare, command the sons of Yasharel and make declaration unto them concerning my gift offerings and my bread for the fire offerings, delightful aroma. You shall watch to bring near unto me in his appointed time, and make this declaration unto them. This is the fire offering which you will bring near unto Yahweh, the ever-living, as a lamb, a son of a year, one that is complete, whole, sound, 2 for a day, a perpetual ascending offering. And the one lamb you will fashion in daybreak, and the second lamb you shall fashion between the dusk. And a 10th part of an faha of fine flour or meal with oil poured over, the 4th part of a hyson. It is a perpetual ascending offering according to the fashioning of Mount Sinai for a delightful aroma, of fire offering unto Yahweh the ever-living. And the drink offering is a 4th part of a hyson for one lamb in the Kudash, pouring out the drink offering as an intoxicating beverage into Yahweh the ever-living. And the second lamb you shall fashion between the dusk. Ara Bayam, like the gift offering at daybreak, and the drink offering you shall fashion a fire offering, a delightful aroma unto Yahweh. And on the 7th day, 2 lambs, son of a year, perfect whole sound, and 2/10 part of fine flour or meal for a gift offering, with oil poured over, and a drink offering. The fire offering shall be for the Sabbath, on his Sabbath, over the perpetual ascending, and the drink offering. And the heads of your mouths upon your Rosh Kadeshaya. You shall bring near and ascending unto Yahweh the ever-living 2 young bullocks, son of the herd, and 1 ram, 7 lambs, sons of a year, perfect, whole, sound, and 3/10 part of fine flour or meal for a gift offering, with oil poured for 1 young bullock, and 2/10 part of fine flour with oil poured over 1 for ram, and a 10th part of fire flour or meal as a gift offering, with oil poured over for 1 lamb. For an ascending offering, a delightful aroma as a fire offering unto Yahweh the ever-living. And their drink offering shall exist 1/2 a hyson to a young bullock, and a 3rd part of a hyson to a lamb. This ascending offering of wine is for a Kadash upon his Kadash months throughout the year. And 1 of the hairy goats for a sin offering unto Yahweh the ever-living, over the perpetual ascending offerings he shall fashion, and his drink offerings. And the first Kadash on the 14th day of the Kadash is the Pesach, or the Passover, unto Yahweh. And on the 15th day of this Kadash is the festival. 7 days shall unfermented bread be eaten. You see what I mean? So this has been given now at least 2 times that I can count. Once in Exodus, I think again in Leviticus. And we're going through these details again. Seems like he's kind of straightening them out again. Okay, you just had this big Baal ritual in which all these people died. Going off and doing your own thing, doing away with the Torah. A lot of people were probably still angry about it. And according to some sources, And so he's just laying this out again. Okay, this is how we're doing it. This is, yeah, I know the old guard is dead now. Moshe's still here, but he's going to be dead any minute. He's going to drop over. I'm going to take him up to his mountain. He's going to die. And you, new generation of priests, you keep doing this. Don't go off and do what they did with Baal. On the first, a Makra'ah Kudash, or a set apart calling together, you shall not fashion a prescribed work or work of service. In the Paleo, it says Mala'akath Abadaha. And you're bringing near a fire offering as an ascending unto Yahuwah the ever living. Their gift offering shall be 2 young bullocks, sons of a year, and 1 ram, and 7 lambs, sons of a year. They shall exist perfect, whole, sound unto you. And their gift offering shall be of fine flour or meal with oil poured over. 3/10 parts for a young bullock, and 2/10 part for a ram you shall fashion him. A 10th part of a 10th part you shall fashion for 1 lamb, for the 7 lambs, and 1 of the hairy goats for a sin offering to make a covering atonement over you. This is separate from the ascending offerings at daybreak, which is for a perpetual ascending offering. So you shall fashion these, like those fashioned daily for 7 days, the bread of the fire offerings as a delightful aroma unto Yahuwah the ever living. Over the perpetual ascending offerings he shall fashion in his drink offering. And on the 7th day shall exist to you a Makra'ah Kudash, a set apart calling together. You shall fashion no Mala'akath Abadaha. And we just saw that up here as a prescribed work. You shall have fashion no prescribed work, business, work, or service. And on the day of first fruits, and you're bringing near a gift offering on the set apart calling together of the Feast of Weeks, he shall exist unto you, that you shall not fashion any prescribed work of service. And you shall bring near an ascending for a delightful aroma unto Yahuwah the ever living, 2 young bullocks, 1 ram, 7 lambs, sons of a year, and their gift offering of fine flour or meal with oil poured over, 3/10 part for 1 young bullock, 2/10 part for 1 ram, a 10th part of a 10th part for 1 lamb. For 7 lambs, 1 of the hairy goats to make a covering atonement over you. This is separate from the perpetual sinning offerings. I think that's talking about the Day of Atonement goat, the Azazel goat and the Yahuwah goat right there. With his gift offerings you shall fashion him. He shall exist unto you perfect, whole, sound, and his drink offerings. And in the 7th Kadash, on the first of the Kadash, or maybe not, because actually we haven't gotten to the Day of Atonement yet. We're coming up on whatever. We'll get there. And in the 7th Kadash, on the first of the Kadash, a Makra'ah Kudash shall exist to you. You shall not fashion any prescribed work of service. It is for you, Yom Teruah. And I was going to say Rosh Hashanah, but that's inaccurate because that means like New Year, and this is not the New Year. But anyways, this is the 7th month. We're in September territory here. Yom Teruah, a day of shouting, rejoicing, sounding of the trumpet, the Feast of Trumpets. And you shall fashion for yourselves an ascending offering for a delightful aroma unto Yahuwah the ever living. A young bullock, son of the herd, 1 ram, and 7 lambs, sons of a year, ones that are perfect, whole, sound, and their gift offering of fine flour or meal with oil poured over, 3/10 part for a young bullock, 2/10 parts for a ram, and 1/10 part for 1 lamb for 7 lambs, and 1 of the hairy goats is a sin offering to make a covering atonement over you, separate from the ascending offerings of the Kudash, and the gift offering of the perpetual ascending offering and their drink offerings, like the judgment for a delightful aroma, a fire offering unto Yahuwah. And on the 10th of the 7th Kadash, this would be the 10th day, of course, is the Makra'ah Kudash shall exist unto you. You shall anuha. What is this word here? Afflict. Yeah. And I was going to say this is the Day of Atonement. Afflict your soul, your nefashath. You shall not do any prescribed work of service, and you're bringing near an ascending offering unto Yahuwah the ever living for a delightful aroma shall be 1 young bullock, son of the herd, 1 ram, and 7 lambs, sons of a year, perfect, whole, sound. They shall exist to you. And their gift offering of fine flour or meal with oil poured over, 3/10 part for a young bullock, and 2/10 part for 1 ram, and a 10th part of a 10th part for 1 lamb. For the 7 lambs, 1 of the hairy goats for sin offering, separate from the sin offering of the covering atonements and the perpetual ascending offerings, and the gift offerings and the drink offerings. And on the 15th day of the 7th Kadash shall exist to you Makra'ah Kudash, a set apart calling together. You shall fashion no prescribed work of service. You shall observe a pilgrimage festival. This begins Sukkot, leaping, dancing in a circle. I like that you did that, Pamela, leaping, dancing in a circle, because she knows my my research into the carousel or the carol, the the lost dance of the Dark Ages, the medieval dance that apparently has been completely scrubbed from history. But so that's really interesting right there. Leaping, dancing in a circle, being giddy, which is what they did in the Dark Ages. Unto Yahweh, the ever living, for 7 days, and your bringing near shall be a sinning offering, an offering made by fire, a delightful aroma unto Yahweh, the ever living. 13 young bullocks, sons of the herd, 2 rams and 14 lambs, sons of a year. They shall exist to you perfect, whole, sound. And their gift offerings of fine flour or meal with oil poured over, 3/10 parts for 1 young bullock for the 13 bullocks, 2/10 parts for 1 ram for the 2 rams, and a 10th part of a 10th part to 1 lamb for the 14 lambs, and 1 of the hairy goats for a sin offering, separate from the perpetual sinning offering, the gift offering, and his drink offering. I think we're almost done, guys, with the reading. And on the 2nd day you shall offer 12 young bullocks, sons of the herd, 2 rams, 14 lambs, sons of a year, ones that are perfect, whole, sound, and their gift offerings and their drink offerings for the young bullocks and for the rams and for the lambs shall be numbered according to the judgment. And 1 of the hairy goats is a sin offering separate from the perpetual sinning offering, and the gift offering and their drink offering. And the 3rd you shall offer 11 young bullocks, 2 rams, 14 lambs, sons of a year, ones that are perfect, whole, sound, and their gift offering and their drink offerings for the young bullocks and for the rams and for the lambs, according to their numbering after the judgment. And 1 hairy goat for a sin offering, separate from the perpetual sinning offering, and his gift offering and his drink offering. And on the 4th you shall offer 10 young bullocks, 2 rams, and 14 lambs, sons of a year. They are perfect, whole, sound, and their gift offering and their drink offerings for the young bullocks, for the rams, and for the lamb, according to their numbering after the judgment. And 1 hairy goat for a sin offering, separate from the perpetual sinning offering, and the gift offering and the drink offering. And on the 4th you shall offer 10 young bullocks, 2 rams, 14 lambs, sons of a year, ones that are perfect, whole, sound, and their gift offering and their drink offerings for the young bullocks and for the rams and for the lambs, according to their numbering after the judgment. And 1 hairy goat for a sin offering, separate from the perpetual sinning offering, and his gift offering and his drink offering. And on the 5th you shall offer 9 young bullocks, 2 rams, and 14 lambs, sons of a year. They are perfect, whole, sound, and their gift offering and their drink offerings for the young bullocks, for the rams, and for the lamb, according to their numbering after the judgment. And 1 hairy goat for a sin offering, separate from the perpetual sinning offering and the gift offering and the drink offering. And on the 6th you shall offer 8 young bullocks, 2 rams, 14 lambs, sons of a year, ones that are perfect, whole, sound, and their gift offering and their drink offerings for the young bullocks and for the rams and for the lambs, according to their numbering after the judgment. And 1 hairy goat for a sin offering, separate from the perpetual sinning offering and his gift offering and his drink offering. And on the 7th you shall offer 7 young bullocks, 2 rams, and 14 lambs, sons of a year. They are perfect, whole, sound, and their gift offering and their drink offerings for the young bullocks, for the rams, and for the lamb, according to their numbering after the judgment. And 1 hairy goat for a sin offering, separate from the perpetual sinning offerings and the gift offering and the drink offering. And on the 8th she shall exist to you a solemn gathering together. You shall not fashion any prescribed work of service, and your bringing near shall be an ascending offering made by fire for a delightful aroma unto Yahweh the ever-living. 1 young bullock, 1 ram, 7 lambs, sons of a year, ones that are perfect, whole, sound, their gift offering and their drink offerings for the young bullock, for the ram, and for the lambs, according to their numbering after the judgment. And 1 hairy goat for a sin offering, separate from the perpetual sinning offerings, and his gift offering and his drink offering. These you will fashion unto Yahweh the ever-living, on your appointed time, separate from your vowed sacrifices and your voluntary offerings, for your ascending offerings, and for your gift offerings, and for your drink offerings, and for your shalom offerings. And Meshahah declared toward the sons of Yasharel, like all which Yahweh the ever-living had commanded Meshahah. And then we oddly have one verse here in chapter 30. And Meshahah declared toward the heads of the tribes of the sons of Yasharel to say, and I did it. Thus concludes the reading of Yah's word tonight, our Torah portion. Still have a lot to cover, but I need to take a breather. In fact, I think that deserves a little bit more of a pour of coffee to get through the rest. And boy, is it hot in this room. I turn off the, just so you guys know how much I love you guys. I get so many complaints that the fan up on the ceiling is a distraction, and apparently people just stare at the fan in the reflection behind me. So I turn it off, and I'm boiling in this room. You could just like see the sweat coming down, probably. So, uh, I don't know what's more distracting, my sweat and my panting like a dog here, or the fan being on. You guys decide, and you you guys come to a decision and let me know. But anyway, so let's talk about Phinehas the Zealot, or the Zealous. We learn in First Chronicles chapter 9 that he was the keeper of the gates. In fact, he was the keeper of he was like the head gatekeeper. And I know that has a very negative connotation today when we talk about gatekeeper and conspiratorial realms, but come on, we're talking about this guy's security. Okay. So if there was a certain event that happened on the 13th of July this year, 2024. You guys can all look that up. And there was a call for the head of security to resign after an incident happened. It's the same thing. If something happens, it would be on his watch. Like Phinehas is the guy that has to get things done. And so it makes sense that if nobody else was going to drive a spear into these two individuals right here, because he was going to be resigning from his job if he didn't, because nobody else was going to do it. So it's like, okay, fine, I'll take matters into my own hands. And this is what it says in First Chronicles 9. And Shalom, the son of Korah, the son of Ebiasaph, the son of Korah, and his brother and the house of their father, the Korahites, were over the work of the service, keepers of the gates of the tabernacle, and their father, as being over the host of Yahuwah, were keepers of the entry. And Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, was the ruler over them in time past, and Yahuwah was with him. Now, I want you guys to think about this, okay? Think of Phinehas as the gatekeeper, top security of the tabernacle, the holiest, the mysteries of the kingdom. And so you can even think about this with the tabernacle or temple today, that that the Ruach is supposed to inhabit our bodies, right? Think about him as he is zealous for the holiness of the temple. Numbers 25:11 says, Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, hath turned my wrath away from the children of Yashua while he was zealous for my sake among them. So whereas this last weekend there's a call for the top security official to resign, it's quite the opposite. Yahuwah is saying your top security official is the only reason that you guys are living right now, because he took matters into his own hands to make sure that this situation was dealt with. Nobody else. Where was all the other security? Why weren't they dealing with this? He was the only guy that went and did it. Think about that. We're going to look at Yahusha really quickly as a type of Phinehas character. He had the zeal of Phinehas. And this is, we just read about Passover. So this is at the Passover of the Yahudim was at hand, and Yahusha went up to Yerushalayim. It's really interesting. Whenever John talks about the Passover, he calls it seems, the Passover of the Yahudim. And he's not saying that he doesn't keep Passover. I think he's saying that they kept a different Passover. It was on a different day. It's why he's saying it's on the Passover of the Jews. But Yahusha had a separate day. That's a whole different talk. But anyways, Yahusha went up to Jerusalem, and he found in the temple those that sold oxen and sheep and doves and the changers of money sitting. You guys know the story. And when he had made a scourge of small cords, he drove them all out of the temple, and the sheep and the oxen, and poured out the changers' money, and overthrew the tables, and said unto them that sold doves, take these things hence, make not my father's house a house of merchandise. And the Talmudim remembered that it was written, the zeal of thine house hath eaten me up. Then answered the Yahudim and said unto him, what sign showest thou unto us, seeing that thou doest these things? Now I find this really interesting. Yahusha answered and said unto them, destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up again. And there is a connection here. We all know that he resurrected. His body physically did not see decay. It resurrected after 3 days. But there is a connection here, I believe, also to Phinehas. When we get into Phinehas being Elijah, Eliyahu. I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself, but also potentially one of the two witnesses, and their resurrection from Jerusalem after said number of days. Now, the thing about zeal is that we all want to have zeal, but Zeal has to be coupled with knowledge. There is nothing worse than zeal amongst an arrogant, ignorant person. It's terrible to behold. It's terrible to watch zeal amongst a proud person. But we want to have knowledge with our zeal. If we don't have knowledge, it leads to destruction. This is what it said. This is a beautiful chapter, Romans 10. This is one of Paul's greatest chapters. Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to Elohim for Yashua is that they might be saved. For I bear them record that they have a zeal of Elohim, but not according to knowledge. And if you can pit Paul's entire ministry up against the Pharisees, it starts making a lot more sense. And you see how these people were hounding Paul, not because Paul went off and formed some new religion, but because Paul was in their religion, in their synagogues, keeping their Torah. And they didn't like his Mashiach. And according to Paul, they had a zeal, which the Pharisees, you can't say they didn't have zeal. The zeal was not the problem. Yahushua did not criticize them for being, for having a works-based zeal. It was their terrible lack of knowledge. For they being ignorant of Elohim's righteousness. Where does righteousness come from? It's the way, it's right, the way, the truth, the life. It comes from the Torah, his instructions in righteous living, and going about to establish their own righteousness. They were creating the Talmud, their oral traditions. They were making a heavy yoke with new laws, have not submitted themselves into the righteousness of Elohim. Isn't that interesting? In adding their man-made doctrines, they were no longer submitting themselves, the Jews, the Pharisees, to righteousness of the Father. For Mashiach is the end? No. For Mashiach is the goal of the Torah for righteousness to everyone that believes. So the righteousness being spoken of here is the Torah. This is the lack of knowledge that the Pharisees didn't have. And this is why Paul says later in Galatians that no man taught me. He's not talking about the apostles. He's saying no Pharisees taught me either. That education I had was a wasted education, wasted college degree. No man taught me. I had to go back to the Torah, and it is the Spirit that instructed me through the Torah. People say the same thing today, right? Mashiach is, we want to walk as Mashiach walked. He is the goal of the Torah. He set the bar of the Torah that we want to aim for, right? That's the goal for everyone that believes, because the Torah is righteousness. He says right there, that defines it. The Torah is the righteousness. For Moshe describes the righteousness. What? Moshe described it. That's what we're going through, the Torah portions, which is of the Torah. So he actually adds that there in case you're confused as to what Moshe is describing, that the man which doeth these things shall what? Live by them. I always love here how Christians love to just cherry pick this. They are the professional cherry pickers, and they love, oh, Christ is the end of the law. And they'll throw, it's like, keep reading the next actually read the 2 verses, the 3 verses beforehand, and just read the rest of Romans 10 while you're at it. But anyways, I digress. Let's keep going, because I can just go off on that all night. Hosea chapter 4. Here's another one. I remember when I went and I declared that I'm going to start keeping the commands. I had probably 30 people coming at me going, they were shaking their head going, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. They're quoting this verse right here. They're saying that my lack of knowledge is leading me to be obedient. And it's like, I get jokes. Yeah, let's finish this verse. How about we read the rest of this? Because you have rejected the knowledge. Well, what knowledge am I rejecting, Grace? I mean, what am I rejecting here? Well, let's keep reading. I will also reject you, that you shall be no priest to me, seeing you have forgotten the Torah, the law of your Elohim. This isn't talking about the made-up law of Christ. This is the Torah of Moshe. I will also forget your children. Okay, so it's a lack of knowledge that leads us to be disobedient, to not know the truth, which is the Torah. And it's a shame. So here's another one from Hebrews. For if, I've quoted this a lot this year. For if we sin willfully, after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, What is the knowledge? It is the Torah. It is the truth. So now you have received it. For those of you following along, you are in a position now of uh, responsibility. You are all responsible now to not willfully disobey and sin, whereas before you were in ignorance. You were transgressing in ignorance, and it wasn't held against you the same way. But now you do know the truth. There remains no more sacrifice for sins for those who keep willfully breaking the Torah. That is dangerous ground, guys. Very, very dangerous. All right. So lack of knowledge leads to destruction. And of course, knowledge of the truth and rebelling against it is actually, I would say, it's worse. It's almost like in the Matrix, where that character Cypher, and I think he took the pill where he could forget everything because he wished he never learned the truth. He wanted to go back to ignorance. All right. And then here's another great one from 2nd Kepha, and popular passage. And of course, we're talking about zealousness matched with knowledge, right? And accounts that the long suffering of our Adonai is salvation, or of Yahusha is Yeshua, right? He's our Yeshua, our salvation. Even as our beloved brother Paul, also according to the wisdom given unto him, hath written unto you. As also in all his epistles, speaking in them of these things, in which are some things hard to be understood. I agree. There is nobody more difficult to understand than Paul of that time period. I mean, you read Clement, you read Origen, you read or Origin, you read. You just go down the list. I mean, I'm sorry, Origin is a couple of centuries later. Philo, I'm sorry. Philo of Alexandria, Josephus, any of those guys, they write beautifully, eloquently. You understand it. He's hard to understand. But let's keep reading. They that are, this is what Kepha says about Paul's writing. They that are unlearned and unstable. Why are you unstable? You're like a ship tossed with the waves, with morality. You just go back and forth. You're unlearned. You don't know what knowledge is. Knowledge is the truth. The truth is the Torah. As they do also the other scriptures. So he's saying that however you twist Paul, if you're twisting Paul to be lawless, then you're also twisting the other scriptures for the same effect. And he says, unto their own destruction. So the people that are twisting Paul, they're twisting the other scriptures in such a way that they don't have to be obedient to them, and it's leading to their destruction. Something to think about. It's just so black and white, isn't it? Like, how many times have we grown up in the Christian church being fed a certain point of view, and then you look at it from a different point of view, and it's so black and white. Now, I went over the death of Balaam last week. I do want to read this in Numbers 25 in the Aramaic Targum, the last passage. And it says, this is Yahuwah speaking. He's speaking of Phinehas, son of Eleazar, bar Aaron. Bar would be son of Aaron. And he says, swearing by my name, I say to him, behold, I decreed to him my covenant of peace, my covenant of shalom, and will make him an angel of the covenant, that he may ever live, to announce the redemption at the end of days. What in the world's going on? Well, we're going to be talking about this tonight, and I'm going to be showing you that there is a case to be made that Phinehas is Elijah, Eliyahu. Not just a prototype, but he actually is Elijah. And then I'll be asking further questions about, is Elijah another individual that we know and love in the Bible? Because I went over the death of Balaam last week, I don't want to go over it again. I do want to just point out, though, well, I will go over this, that according to the Aramaic Targum in Deuteronomy chapter 31, it specifically, and I did point out that we know that Balaam is killed in the book of Joshua. That comes Joshua chapter 23. It talks about that he was killed by the sword in a very specific battle. And I have pointed out that I think in Deuteronomy 31, it's actually pointing ahead to Joshua, because when you look at the Aramaic Targum in Joshua as well, it doesn't steer away. So, but it basically says Phinehas, he sees Balaam in the battle, and he starts pursuing him. He's running after him. And I always imagine like the T-1000, just running really fast, and Balaam's on his motorcycle trying to get away, and he can. And of course, Long story short, Phinehas, in his zealousness, executes the great villain of the Old Testament, Balaam. All right. So before I get into Phinehas as Eliyahu, I'm going to make you sit on your seat a little bit longer. And let's talk about the Simeon Levite prophecy. So there's an instance in Genesis, you will recall, where Dinah, the daughter of Leah, which she bare unto Yaakov, went out to see the daughters of the land. They're there in Shechem. They're kind of at the well, what's called Jacob's well today, Yaakov's well. And Shechem is like right there, just walking distance, right? A cool summer evening. They have a festival where all the ladies are invited. And it was when Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, Dinah. He took her and lay with her and defiled her. And of course, she has a daughter named Aseneth, who Joseph later marries. That's a whole nother story. But you guys know that Simeon and Levi are the two who come up with the plan to circumcise the town. And while they are in the pain of their circumcision, they go and annihilate them. And so skipping ahead to the end of chapter 34, and Yaakov, their father, said to Simeon and Levi, ye have troubled me to make me to stink among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites, and I, being few in number, they shall gather themselves together against me and slay me, and I shall be destroyed, I and my house. And they said, should he deal with our sister as with a harlot? Now, when we go through this Torah portion again, we'll cover this in Jasher, where this just opens up battle after battle after battle, and it's epic, and it's the 10 brothers, because Joseph and Benjamin are not involved in this, but the 10 brothers just going up against just thousands of people and just annihilating them over this. But Yaakov was upset about this incident to the end of his days, because we get into where he actually doesn't bless Simeon, sadly enough. And there seems to be a prophecy on his deathbed. And when he gets to Simeon, he says this in Bereshith, or Genesis chapter 49, Simeon and Levi are brethren, instruments of cruelty are in their habitations. So Yaakov knows his sons better than anyone. I mean, he knows he's interacted with them in all the chapters of the Bible that we don't get, right, day to day. And for whatever reason, he has concluded that when Simeon and Levi are together, watch out. They need to be separated. They just plot together. Let's not even have them in the same room. And he says, "Oh, my soul, come not thou into their secret, unto their assembly, mine honor, be not thou united. For in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they dig down a well. Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Yaakov and scatter them in Yasharel." So they plotted together, they did their thing, and they seem to be, after this incident, they seem to be kind of at odds with each other as tribes go. And of course, Simeon is one of those that kind of drifts out of history with the tribes, whereas Levi, of course, stuck around. But I'm asking the question here, is this Levi versus Simeon? You notice I did point out earlier that the guy who took the Midianite prostitute was the chief of Simeon in the tabernacle. And so much like with Korah's rebellion when he teamed up with the Reubenites, here we see Levi going against Simeon. So it says this, and Yasharel abode in Shittim, and the people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab. And they called the people into the sacrifices of their Allahayam. The people did eat and bowed down to their Allahayam, not good. And Yasharel joined himself unto Baal Peor, and the anger of Yahuwah was kindled against Yasharel. How in the world did they think it was going to end well for them, right? I mean, I guess it was their parents' generation at this point that did the golden calf before with Baal, and maybe they were little 2-year-olds at the time. Maybe they don't remember it, but man, such is human nature, isn't it? Well, let's read a little bit about who these people were. Now, the name of the Yasharite that was slain by, on the lance, even that was slain with the Midianitish woman, was Zimri, the son of Salu, a prince of a chief house among the Simeonites. And of course, the woman's name, a Midianitish woman that was slain, was Cosbi, the daughter of Zur. And Zur was head over a people and of a chief house in Midian. All right, so this is a princess. And Zimri Zamarea means celebrated in song of my music. Seems like he was dancing to the beat of his own drum. And the name of the Midianitish woman, Zimri, which means my lie or lying. Interesting thing to name your daughter, liar. Come here, liar. I want to talk to you, liar. She was a temple prostitute, a missionary position, was it? And Zimri Zamarea of Simon entered the tabernacle to teach Yasharel how it was done. They were both making an example, and they were rebelling against the Torah. The Torah was once more, hooray, done away with. We can now live like the pagans. And of course, it didn't end well with them. So there were 24,000 that died in the plague. You can see right there, excuse me, Numbers 25:9. And those that died in the plague were 24,000. Of course, the reason we know that the plague was staved and that Yahweh did not finish off all of Yasharel was because of Phinehas alone and his amazing, he's not so great security team, but he alone went to take out the bad guys. And like your regular Chuck Norris type of character. So let's look at Simeon's count at the beginning of Numbers. At the beginning of Numbers, Simeon is numbered as 50 and 9,300. At the end of Numbers, now keep in mind, 40 years have passed, or 38 years. So, because we went through the whole incident where the 10 evil spies, and then they're given the 38, 39 years, up to 40 years. And now we're at the end of that. So they started out 59,300, and they dropped after this incident to 22,200. So in half a century, they have shrunk 37,000 in number. That's not typically how reproduction works. So now, again, 37,000 in number. There were only 24,000 killed. So I didn't do the time to add up the math with each tribe, but I'm thinking Simeon had a lot of people killed off. It didn't go well for a lot of them. All right. Now this is interesting here because we're going to look at Simeon's deathbed. When he's speaking to his sons, he's in Mitzrayim. This is his prophecy of the coming Messiah to his sons. And you can see how Levi is on his mind through this. Behold, I have told you all things that I may be acquitted of your sin. Now, if you remove from you your envy and all stiff-neckedness. Envy is one of the themes here, of course, of the 12 patriarchs, the spirit of jealousy. It's a very, very real thing that the spirit of jealousy causes people to want to murder other people. And by murder, it's that hatred in your heart where you look out and you're like, I want what that person has. It could be on YouTube land. It could be social media. It could be ministries. It could be anything like that. I want what that person has. I want to dethrone him. I don't want to do the work, but I want what that person has. I'm going to hate him and do everything I can to topple him. That's what they try to do with Joseph, of course. Now, if you remove from your own envy and all stiff-neckedness, as a rose shall my bones flourish in Yasharel, and as a lily my flesh in Yaakov. Let me just skip down here to verse 6 for lack of time. Then the mighty one of Yasharel shall glorify Shem. Actually, no. Man, I always do this. Then the mighty one of Yasharel shall glorify Shem, for Yahuwah Alahayam shall appear on earth and himself save men. Now, you could say I'm playing with the translation here. It says the Lord God in English, all right? and I put Yahweh Elohim, but this specifically says that the Lord, Yahweh, Yahuwah, Yahweh, Yahweh, the Lord God himself is going to save men. He is going to be their Yeshua by coming to earth. So let's put that one in the bucket too for evidence that Yahweh is Yahushua HaMashiach. I mean, that's what he's saying here. He's saying our Elohim, who we serve, he is coming to earth to save us. Then, and let's see what happens when he comes. Then shall all the spirits of deceit be given to be trodden underfoot, and men shall rule over wicked spirits. That's what happened under Yahushua HaMashiach's ministry. People were able to rule over wicked spirits. They were given that authority, cast out demons and such. Then this is when I think that they, removed their crowns, the evil spirits and the Anunnaki and so on and so forth, if they hadn't lost them already. Then shall I arise in joy and will bless the Most High because of his marvelous works. I think this is a reference to the resurrection, that he will arise in joy. He will be resurrected because Elohim hath taken a body and eaten with men and save men. So he's saying God himself will take on a human body, eat with them. He will be their Yeshua. And now, my children, and Yehuda, and obey Levi and Yehuda, and be not lifted up against these two tribes, for from them shall arise unto you the salvation of Elohim. Of course, this was a problem for Simeon. This is why they needed the reminder. For Yahweh shall raise up from Levi, as it were a high priest, and from Yehuda, as it were a king. So who is this high priest coming from Levi? I think this is our man. And of course, Yehuda, as it were a king, that's Yahushua HaMashiach. Of course, he is also high priest, but we also get a high priest from Levi. He says that he is Elohim and man, the king of Yehuda. He shall save all the Goyim and the race of Yasharel. How exciting is that? All right, let's keep looking at Phinehas, our man. Oh, was Simeon from the tribe of Simeon? I'm talking about the Simeon from the New Testament now in the book of Luke. And is this kind of fulfillment of what Simeon talked about in the 12 patriarchs? And behold, there was a man in Jerusalem whose name was Simeon. And I looked into this, and a lot of people think that it was a fulfillment, and that his name was Simeon on purpose because he was from the tribe of Simeon. And the same man was just and devout, waiting for the consolation of Yasharel, and the Ruach HaKodesh was upon him. That's interesting. So here we have a guy with the Ruach HaKodesh before the Pentecost events. So that just goes to show that people did have the Ruach upon them. They didn't have to wait around. Throw that one in another bucket for evidence. And it was revealed unto him by the Ruach HaKodesh. You didn't have to wait around for another 30-something years for that Passover event. Pentecost. That he should not see death before he had seen Yehovah's Mashiach. And he came by the Ruach into the temple, and when the parents brought in the child Yahusha to do for him after the custom of the Torah, then took he him up in his arms and blessed Elohim and said, Adonai, now lettest thou thy servant depart in shalom according to thy word, for mine eyes have seen thy Yeshua, which thou hast prepared before the face of all people, a light to lighten the Goyim and the glory of the people Yasharel. And Joseph and his mother marveled at these things which were spoken of him. And Simeon blessed them and said unto Miriam his mother, behold, this child is set for the fall and rising again of many in Yasharel, and for a sign which shall be spoken against. Yea, a sword shall pierce through his own soul also, that the thoughts of many hearts may be revealed. Luke chapter 2. All right, now let's get into it. Are Phinehas and Eliyahu the same? So we see here in biblical antiquities of pseudo-philo that Phinehas and Eliyahu, when I say Eliyahu, I'm speaking of Elijah, Phinehas and Eliyahu are directly compared. At that time, Phinehas was verging toward death. At what time? Well, we'll see in a little bit. And Yahweh has said to him, behold, you have passed the 120 years that have been established for every man. Now, It doesn't necessarily say he is 120 years. I had to look at this a few times. According to this, it says you have passed the 120 years. It could mean you have gone well beyond what you're supposed to. Now rise up and go from here and dwell in the desert on the mountain and dwell there many years. What? I thought he was already past the 120 years. Now he's saying he's going to live on this mountain many, 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 many more years. I will command my eagle, and he will nourish you there, and you will not come down again to mankind until the appointed time arrives. And you will be tested at the appropriate time, and then he will shut up the heaven from rain. Why is this all so familiar? And by your mouth it will be opened up. Afterward, you will be raised up to the place where those who were before you were raised up, and you will be there until I remember the world. And then I will bring you, and you will get a taste of death. So this is really interesting. According to now let's talk about this mountain. All right, is this Mount Sinai? If people were for hundreds of years to go to Mount Sinai would be like a Sasquatch sighting. They see oh, there's Phinehas. He just went by, and it's like, no, I don't know if it is that mountain. I kind of think this is like the real Mount Zion, the one I've been talking about in the wilderness. The desert could be wilderness, could be Sinai or Sinai, could be that. But I think that this is the Zion in his wilderness. We could chalk it up to paradise if you want, to Eden. All right. So he says that he's going to come back to shut up the rain and be fed by these birds. And then after that, there's going to be another, if you want to say incarnation, another arrival where he's going at the end of the world, where he's going to taste death. So you guys already know where this is going. We see here that Elijah or Eliyahu shuts up the heavens from rain and is fed by ravens. Now, with Phinehas, he's fed by eagles. So that's the only difference here, eagles versus ravens. Maybe they were trying to make it not too obvious. And Eliyahu, the Tishbite, who was of the inhabitants of Gilead, said unto Ahab, as Yahweh Elohim of Yashua liveth, before whom I stand, there shall not be dew nor rain these years, but according to my word. And the word of Yahweh came unto him, saying, get thee hence and turn thee eastward and hide thyself by the brook Cherith, that is before Yarden. And it shall be that thou shalt drink of the brook, and I have commanded the ravens to feed thee there. So he went and did according unto the word of Yahweh, for he went and dwelt by the brook Cherith, that is before the Yarden. And the ravens brought him bread and flesh in the morning, and bread and flesh in the evening, and he drank of the brook. And it came to pass after a while that the brook dried up, because there had been no rain in the land. And the word of Yahweh came unto him, saying, arise, get thee to Zarephath, which belongeth to Zidon, and dwell there. Behold, I have commanded a widow woman there to sustain thee. It's an amazing story where, like obviously Eliyahu had to be a super, or Phinehas / Eliyahu had to be a super zealous person to be able to trust Yah, where he is like, hey, I'm going to go live in the wilderness, and you're going to literally feed me by birds. You're going to give me the rain, the runoff of water, but there hasn't been any rain, so that's shriveled up. So now I'm going to go to this woman, and literally, like, water is going to come out of pots. Just an amazing story. But let's just keep reading. We see that both are zealots. We saw that with Numbers 25, that the plague was stayed because alone Phinehas was zealous for my sake among them. We see this in 1 Kings regarding Eliyahu. And he said, I have been moved by zeal for Yahweh Elohim of hosts. For the children of Yahshua have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thine altars, and slain thy prophets with the sword. And I, even I only am left, and they seek my life to take it away. Time and again, people are always like, oh, see, the problem with Israel was that he gave them a Torah that they couldn't possibly fulfill. And they just yearned for the day that they didn't have to do it anymore. Wrong. The problem with Israel was that they had forsaken the covenants. They weren't doing the Torah. They had done away with it. And you have a guy coming along like Elijah, who is zealous and just saying, just keep his commands. It's not that hard. It really isn't. Both lived very long lives. Now, oddly enough, you could say that, well, he was just a little boy here. He was obviously in the priesthood, so he had to be of a certain age, at least 30. But he was still alive in Joshua chapter 22. Now, this is okay, fine. Maybe he's, maybe he's in his 30s here, right? But you can see right here, it says, verse 13 of chapter 22, and the children of Yasharel sent unto the children of Reuben, and to the children of Gad, and to the half tribe of Manasseh, and to the land of Gilead, Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the priest. Undoubtedly the same guy. I highlighted this, so this must be important. Is the iniquity of Peor too little for us, from which we are not cleansed until this day, although there was a plague in the congregation of Yahuwah? Oh, so he's basically saying here, like, look, you remember that plague that happened, the one that I stopped from happening because I took a lance through the missionary couple. There's this stain on us. Like, let's not forget that, right? Let's be cleansed. All right. Well, so it's kind of like a big deal, right? Okay, well, let's read this here. And when Phinehas the priest and the princes of the congregation and heads of the thousands of Yasharel, which were with him, heard the words of the children of Reuben and the children of Gad and the children of Manasseh spake, it pleased them. So there was a big debate here about, did Reuben and Gad and Manasseh, did they put up these pagan altars to Baal or the surrounding gods? And this is what Phinehas is reminding them. Do you remember what happened last time? Because we know what happens at these altars as well. There's these, these hot babes that show up, these missionaries. Let's not repeat this. Anyways, and Phinehas, and they said, no, that's not what we're doing. And Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the priest, said unto the children of Reuben, and to the children of Gad, and to the children of Manasseh, this day we perceive that Yahuwah is among us, because ye have not committed the trespass against Yahuwah. Now ye have delivered the children of Yasharel out of the hand of Yahuwah. And Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the priest, and the princes returned from the children of Reuben, and all was good. Okay, so no big deal, right? Okay, he lives to the end of Joshua, but then he shows up again in Judges, but not just at the beginning of the book, at the end of the book. At the end of the book. So I want you to look at this timeline here. And a lot happens in Judges. We have Deborah, remember the woman who likes to drive. You don't want to go on a camping trip with her and get drunk. She likes to drive a stake into the head of a dude. We got Gideon. We got Samson. Yeah, he happens his whole life. He goes through his thing. We see Eli. Apparently, he might appear in the timeline of Judges, as well as Samuel as a boy, which will then lead into Saul and David. And at the end of Judges, it's when they go to war with Benjamin for some naughty acts. And look who's on the scene. And the children of Yahshua inquired of Yahuwah, for the Ark of the Covenant of Elohim was there in those days. And who was there at the Ark of the Covenants to be inquired with Yahuwah but Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron? Same dude. How old is this guy? He stood before it in those days. Oh, really? Saying, shall I yet again go out to battle against the children of Benjamin, my brother, or shall I cease? And of course, Phinehas and his zealousness is like, yeah, go to war with Benjamin. Let's take these guys out for their horrific acts. And of course, they go into battle. So the question that has long been asked by the rabbinical community, maybe the Christian community too, I don't know, but at least the rabbinical community has documented, is Phinehas and Eliyahu the same person? This is what we read by Rabbi Levi ben Gershon in officially the years 1288 through 1344. Since we see this amazing longevity for Elijah, and we see that the same for Phinehas or Phinehas, as we discussed earlier, and we find both of them were lifted by the Ruach of Elohim as if they were angels of Elohim, and we find a covenant of life for Phinehas, as we discussed earlier, it is fitting to suggest that he is Elijah, since one peculiar postulate is better than two peculiar postulates, or two immoral people. This is the conclusion of Legends of the Jews as well. In those days, Elohim spoke to Phinehas, thou art 120 years old. Thou hast reached the natural term of man's life. Now, I had stated earlier that it said, according to that text, that he had gone beyond those years. Of course, this could be at the end of Joshua too. I mean, he could have gone up in the mountain and come back again at the end of Judges. We don't really know. We don't really know what's going on here. But anyways, thou art 120 years old. And this is according to the understanding of the writer of Legends of the Jews. Thou hast reached the natural term of man's life. Go now, betake thyself to the mountain Danabin, and remain there many years. I will command the eagles to sustain thee with food, so that thou returnest not to men until the time when thou lockest fast the clouds and openest them again. Then I will carry thee to the place where those are who were before thee, and there thou wilt tarry until I visit the world and bring thee thither to taste of death. All right. So we know that according to these texts, Elijah and Phinehas is the same guy. Settled that. You can agree or disagree. I'm just giving you the paper trail, as it were. Well, this is what let's look a little bit more at. We know what happens to Elijah. He chariots of fire, some great songs attributed to that. And he goes off to paradise, to heaven, to await his coming again. And this is what we read in the gospel, or I should say not the gospel, but the questions of Bartholomew, though it might originally have been the gospel of Bartholomew. And Beliar said unto Sheol, isn't it interesting how Beliar and Sheol are two different entities? Look carefully who it is that, for it is Eliyahu or Enoch, or one of the prophets that this man seems me to be. Beliar doesn't know. He's totally arrogant. But Sheol answered death and said, now it's saying that Beliar is the angel of death here. Not yet are 6,000 years accomplished. And whence are these, O Beliar? For the sum of the number is mine hands. You know, this is where I get my timeline from. And this is taking place in the year 5,500 at the resurrection of Yahushua HaMashiach. So he's saying that Elijah and Enoch are not coming together until another 500 years from that point in time. Exodus 6:18 in the Targum states, he lived to see Phinehas, who is Eliyahu, the great priest, who is to be sent to the captivity of Yashrael at the end of the days. Okay, so right there it says in the Targum, Phinehas is Elijah, and that it's going to bring Israel out of their captivity, out of their diaspora at the end of the days, which could be referring to John the Baptist. Could be, that's one theory, or it could be on my timeline, the 500 years later. We see in Deuteronomy chapter 30 of the Targum, though you may be dispersed into the ends of the heavens, from thence will the word of Yahweh gather you together by the hand of Eliyahu the great priest, and from thence will he bring you by the hands of the king Mashiach. Lamentations 4:22 in the Targum says, and after this your iniquity will be finished, O congregation of Zion, and you will be freed by the hands of the king Mashiach and Eliyahu the high priest, and Yahweh will no longer exile you. And at that time I will punish your iniquities. Wicked Rome, built in Italy and filled with crowds of Edomites, and the Persians will come and oppress you and destroy you because your sins have been made known before Yahweh. So once again, you see Eliyahu and Mashiach interlinked, holding hands or arms linked together at the end of days. Here's a great passage from, I quote from chapter 20 of the Gospel of Nicodemus all the time. Then Adonai holding Adam by the hand. And now remember, the reason he went down to Sheol was a promise that he personally made with Adam, saying, after he kicked him out of the garden, he said, if you live a righteous life, if you obey my commands, it's conditionally, right? It's not a promise, but it's conditionally. If you show yourself to be worthy, I will come and I will personally bring you out of Sheol. And of course, he didn't just bring Adam, he brought his children out as well. He delivered him to Michael, the archangel, and he led them into paradise filled with mercy and glory. And two very ancient men met them and were asked by the Kodashim, who are you who have not yet been with us in Sheol and have had your bodies placed in paradise? And one of them answering said, I am Enoch, who is translated by the word of Allahayam. And this man who is with me is Eliyahu the Tishbite, who is translated in a fiery chariot. Here we have hitherto been and have not tasted death. but are now about to return at the coming of Antichrist, being armed with divine signs and miracles, to engage with him in battle, and to be slain by him at Jerusalem, and to be taken up alive again in the clouds after 3 days and a half. Remember what I told you, the zealousness of Yahusha, and he's totally being compared to the Phinehas type of zealotness there, and he talked about the 3 days rise again. Same thing here with Phinehas slash Eliyahu will be resurrected after 3 days. So I see 3 potential outcomes. Now, in this instance, according to the Gospel of Nicodemus, he cannot possibly be John the Baptist. All right. So is that a problem? I shouldn't say he couldn't possibly be John the Baptist. I don't think he's John the Baptist. A lot of people are going to theorize that he is John the Baptist. Could be. Maybe this is wrong. It could be that when Enoch and Elijah came back, they're getting ready to come back. That could have been in the 70 AD region. They could have been the 2 witnesses then. Or, of course, according to Gospel of Nicodemus, it makes it pretty clear. It says that it would be 500 years later. So according to Gospel of Nicodemus theory, it cannot be 70 AD. It has to be 500 years later. Here's another fascinating book called the Apocalypse of Elijah, or the Apocalypse of Eliyahu. This was originally written in Hebrew. It is thought to predate the New Testament, maybe early 1st century or even BC. Some people think that Paul may have read and quoted from this book. And this talks about the coming battle between Antichrist and Phinehas slash Eliyahu. So I'll read a couple of chapters from this because it's a really fascinating read. The virgin whose name is Tabitha. And I want to do a study on Tabitha because I dug into her. It's been a couple years now, so I've kind of lost some of those notes. Interesting woman, though, from what I recall. Tabitha will hear that the shameless one has revealed himself in the holy places. This is speaking about when the Illuminati pulled well, no, I think this happened actually in the 500s. And by the way, I really believe that Jerusalem was rebuilt. For all the people out there saying it was destroyed in 70 AD, never rebuilt, I have shown so many prophecies that said, no, it would be rebuilt again, and that it would all go down in Jerusalem again. I actually kind of wonder, what if the Crusades was kind of a cover for that? What if it did actually happen again? And I've shown, of course, according to the sibling oracles, where it prophesizes that the man we know is Emperor Hadrian would rebuild Jerusalem. And he did. He rebuilt it. Anyways, Tabitha, she goes to Jerusalem, confront the Antichrist, and she will put on her garment of fine linen, and she will pursue him up to Yehuda, scolding him up to Jerusalem, saying, "Oh, shameless one! Oh, son of lawlessness!" I could totally see a Middle Eastern woman doing this, just shame on you, shame, just like following him around, just yelling at him to the point of annoyance. "Oh, you have been hostile to all the saints." Then the shameless one will be angry at the virgin. He will pursue her up to the regions of the sunset. Kind of interesting. He will suck her blood in the evening. So what is this guy, a vampire? I don't really know. And he will cast her upon the temple, and she will become a healing for the people. She will rise up at dawn, and she will live and scold him, saying, so she resurrects, but the next day, "Oh, shameless one, you have no power over against my soul or my body, because I live in Yahweh always. And also my blood, which you have cast upon the temple, has become a healing for the people." I don't know what's going on there. That's a whole study in itself. Then when Eliyahu and Enoch, there they are, hear that the shameless one has revealed himself in the holy place, they will come down and fight with him, saying, "Are you indeed not ashamed when you attach yourself to the saints, because you are always estranged? You have been hostile to those who belong to heaven. You have acted against those belonging to the earth. You have been hostile to the thrones. You have acted against the angels. You are always a stranger. You have fallen from heaven like the morning stars. You were changed, and your tribe became dark for you. But you are not ashamed when you stand firmly against Elohim. You are a devil." The shameless one will hear, and he will be angry, and he will fight with them in the marketplace of the great city. And he will spend, so this is a total parallel to Revelation here. I don't know if it's a repeated event or if it is talking about Revelation. And he will spend 7 days fighting with him. And they will spend 3½ days in the marketplace dead. So there's the 3-day prophecy. But it's interesting, it's 3½ days. Though we did see earlier 3½ 1 day. It's the second time we've seen it. While all the people see them. But on the 4th day, they will rise up and they will scold him, saying, "O shameless one, O son of lawlessness, are you indeed not ashamed of yourself, since you are leading astray the people of Elohim, for whom you did not suffer? Do you not know that we live in Yahweh?" All right, it goes on. It's a great passage. I did a study on this a couple years ago. I think I highlighted. Okay, so here we go. So let's just go here. Let's see. What do I want to read? On that day, I'm going to start in verse 25. On that day, the mountains and the earth will utter speech. The byways will speak with one another, saying, "Have you heard today the voice of a man who walks, who has not come to judgment of the son of Yahweh? The sins of each one will stand against him in the place where they were committed, whether those of the day or the night. Those who belong to the righteous and will see the sinners, and those who persecuted them, and those who handed them over to death in their torments. Then the sinners in torment will see the place of the righteous, and thus grace will occur in those days. That which the righteous will ask for many times will be given to them." By the way, I could cross-reference this book with 2nd Esdras. And for those of you who are, I am not a rapture guy, okay? Please do not confuse me for a rapture guy. For those of you out there who do say that the rapture is unbiblical, I politely disagree with that. I actually think that they do have a case. I do not think it's just a Jesuit theory. In 2nd Esdras, it specifically talks about the righteous who are taken away, who are then the wicked then see them at a later time. Here, the same thing has just happened. I skipped the part where the righteous were taken away. They were taken away. The angels carried them away. So there was an instance where the angels carried away the good guys, and now they look and they saw those who were taken away and the place they were taken to. And on that day, Yahweh would judge the heaven and the earth. He would judge those who transgressed in heaven and those who did so on the earth. He will judge the shepherd. So that's interesting. So it seems like right here is the judgment of the Council of the 70, the Anunnaki as well. The 70 shepherds. And again, I think I need to do a whole presentation to add this to my 7,000-year timeline deception. I think that this is in the 500s. He will judge the shepherds of the people. He will ask about the flock of the sheep, and they will be given to him without any deadly guile existing in them. Why is this so interesting? Because in Enoch, he talks to the 70 shepherds, and he's like, I'm giving you these sheep. You better not harm them. So now he's judging the shepherds, and he's getting his sheep back. After these things, Eliyahu and Enoch will come down. They will lay down the flesh of the world, and they will receive their spiritual flesh. So it looks like this is where they die. They will pursue the son of lawlessness and kill him, since he is not able to speak. On that day, he will dissolve in their presence like ice, which was dissolved by a fire. He will perish like a serpent, which has no breath in it. It's an interesting kind of comparison, isn't it? They will say to him, "Your time has passed by for you. Now, therefore, you want those who believe you will perish. They will be cast into the bottom of the abyss, and it will be closed for them. On that day, Hamashiach the king and all his saints will come forth from heaven. He will burn the earth. He will spend 1,000 years upon it. Because the sinners prevailed over it, he will create a new heaven and a new earth. No deadly devil will exist in them. He will rule with his saints, ascending and descending while they are always with the angels, and they are with Mashiach for 1,000 years. Now, that's where the book ends, I think. It doesn't say what happens after 1,000 years or why they're only with him for 1,000 years. It seems the context is pretty straightforward, though, that the 1,000 years that they're with him is on the earth. So the resurrected are physically on the earth 1,000 years, and the death of and resurrection of Enoch and Eliyahu or Phinehas seems to be the mile marker when that happens. And of course, I've asked the question many times, did that happen in the 500s? Why would official history tell us that? If it did. We see a lot of clues, though, that it did happen. I want to go over really quickly, just to be fair to everyone, because I really don't know at the end of the day. Like I said, this is a paper trail, right? I'm just following where the clues take us. And this is what we read in Malachi chapter 3. Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. And Yehovah, whom ye seek, shall suddenly come to his temple, even the messenger of the covenant, whom ye delight in. Behold, he shall come, saith Yehovah of hosts. But who may abide the day of his coming? And who shall stand when he appears? For he is like a refiner's fire and like fuller's soap. Not a bar of soap, but just soap. And he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he shall purify the sons of Levi, and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto Yahweh an offering in righteousness. Then shall the offering of Yehuda and Jerusalem be pleasant unto Yahweh, as in the days of old, and as in former years. And I will come near to you to judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers, and against the adulterers, and against false swearers, and against those that oppress the hireling in his wages, the widow and the fatherless, and that turn aside the stranger from his rights, and fear not me, saith Yahuwah of hosts. And I say time and again, guys, whenever Yahuwah starts talking about his heart, what's on his heart, he talks about the widows, the fatherless, those would be the orphans, and of course, turning a blind eye to injustice. All right, so then we can jump over to Mark chapter 1, and it says this, the beginning of the gospel of Yahushua HaMashiach, the son of Eliam, as it is written in the prophets, behold, I send my messenger before thy face, which shall prepare the way before thee. So this is referring to Malachi. The voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of Yahuwah, make his path straight. And then, of course, we can see that Yahushua shows up, he baptizes him. Same thing is said in Luke chapter 1. So the angel appears to Zechariah, his father. He talks about how, for he shall be great in the sight of Yahuwah, and shall drink neither wine nor strong drink. And he shall be filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, even from his mother's womb. And many of the children of Yasharel shall he turn to Yahuwah, their Elohim. What better person to do that than the gatekeeper, Phinehas, right? And he shall go before him in the Ruach and power of Eliyahu, of Elijah, right there. So we can sit here and talk all day. What is the Ruach and the power of Elijah? Was he the literal Ruach of Elijah? As I believe Elijah was the literal spirit of Phinehas. And I say I believe that. You guys hopefully you know what I mean by that. It's because it seems like the paper trail leads me in that direction. I'm just going by what the books say. No fear in that. And of course, in Matthew chapter 11, they're talking about John the Baptist, Yochanan, and this is what Yahushua says: "Verily I say unto you, among them that are born of women, there hath not risen a greater than Yochanan the Baptist. Notwithstanding, he that is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. And from the days of Yochanan the Baptist unto now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. For all the prophets in the Torah prophesied unto Yochanan." That's kind of interesting. "And if ye will receive it," so if you will receive it, "this is Eliyahu, which was for to come. He that hath ears to hear, let him hear." So I just want to be clear here. I have no problem with Yochanan the Baptist being Eliyahu, and in turn Phinehas, living three lives apparently. The issue I have is, well, we're going to get into it. Actually, it's not an issue at all. But in terms of, if, according to some texts, Elijah hadn't returned yet, right, with Enoch and Elijah, and including with, I just read you from a few of them. So how does that work out? I don't really know. And I'm going to let you guys, I'm just going to be content in the uncertainty of not knowing and the tension of that. And maybe one day I'll be able to work it out. Maybe you guys already have, and you just are keeping it from me. I don't really know. You're just watching me squirm up here. But I promised, according to on YouTube tonight, that I was going to talk about time travel. And this is kind of interesting because you guys know about the Transfiguration. Of course, my position is that this was a case of time travel. So let me go over this really quickly. In Matthew, we see the Transfiguration. This is what it says. "And after 6 days, Yahushua took Kepha, Yaakov, and Yochanan, his brother, and brought them up into a high mountain apart, and was transfigured before them." Now, in the book of the Nazarene, or the book of the Illuminators, it talks about in this Transfiguration that it was this bright or this like bluish color. Now, keep in mind, I think it was purple. The Gospel of Nicodemus specifically said that a purple light entered Sheol when Yahweh went down there. That is the light of the resurrection. The human eye cannot see that purple light. They can only see the blue scale, to my understanding. So it's kind of interesting. In the book of the Nazarene, they saw a blue light. They couldn't detect the purple. I could be wrong about that, but that just my research, what I've come to. Anyways, he's transfigured before them. The light, the purple light, I believe, of the Ruach HaKodesh. And his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light. And behold, there appeared unto them Moshe and Eliyahu talking with him. All right. You guys know the story. Now, the problem here, and it is a problem, is that Moshe is dead. Now, we could argue about Eliyahu. Some people would say he is dead. I obviously believe he was still alive. But the big issue is Moshe, because is he having communication with the dead? Now, I know you say, oh, he's the Elohim of the living, not the dead. But in the Torah, it specifically says not to have communion with the deceased, with spirits. So if he's bringing them up from Sheol, that could be a problem. Some people may have a problem with that. Now, I'm of the position that he's actually communicating with them in their lifetime. So it's really trippy to think about, because this is true. I don't know if you want to call it a paradox or what, but it's cyclical, because we think of time as a straight line, and yet, well, I'll show you. We see here with Elijah, or Eliyahu, that he's on the run for his life from Jezebel, the wicked Jezebel, who ruled her people with magic. I believe it was psychodrama. I believe that she ruled her people the same way that they do today, through the media, through psychodrama, which of course originated from Babylon, which makes sense. She would have learned it from Nimrod, the Nimrodic religion, through basically hoaxes and things like that. But he's on the run, and this is what we read. He rose, and he did eat and drink, and went in the strength of that meat 40 days and 40 nights unto Horeb, the mount of Elohim. He goes to Mount Sinai. So he has an encounter with him there, and he speaks with him. There was an earthquake, and after that a fire, but Yahweh was not in the earthquake, nor was he in the fire. And after that a fire, a still small voice. Beautiful story. And it total contrast to Moshe, with the flames and the smoke and the voices and the trumpets. It's just a still wind. And it was so, when Eliyahu heard it, that he wrapped his face in his mantle and went out and stood at entering in of the cave. And that's where he speaks with them. And interestingly enough, Eliyahu is always feeling alone. That's what a righteous man would. The more righteous you become, the more wise you become, you start recognizing that you're surrounded by a lot less righteous people and a lot less wise people. And, Phinehas probably felt the same way. He's like, why am I the only one here playing the part of security? Why is nobody else doing this? Right. And of course, Yahweh response says, yet I have left with me 7,000 in Yasharel, all the knees which have not bowed unto Baal, and every mouth which hath not kissed him. I am suspect that this 7,000 could be a play on words. It could be the 7,000 years of history. He's saying, look, I know it's pretty grim for you right now, but there's, this 7,000, it could be a play on that, because we're dealing with time travel. It could be saying, over these 7,000 years, I have my servants who have never bowed down to Baal. All right. So don't sweat it, Eliyahu. Keep in mind, Eliyahu's got a lot of lives to live here. So my position that I'm coming with here is that when he is speaking with Yahweh, he is speaking with Yahushua HaMashiach during the Transfiguration. And so that's the biggest hurdle here for most people. And the reason why this has never really been picked up is because people don't think of Yahweh as Yahushua. They think Yahweh is the Father. And of course, my position is that Yahweh, Yahuwah, Yahweh, Jehovah, Yahweh is the Son of the Most High. He is Messiah. He is Yeshua, our salvation. And so he's having a conversation with him in the future. The other person in this discussion is Moshe. Now, with Moshe's transfiguration, the interesting thing about this is that he comes down famous. He has these. Are they horns of light? Are they actual like goat horns that come out? That we can get into the whole Mandela effect thing. I have conceded on this that I think it is possible that they could be actual horns. I don't think they were. I think they could be horns. There's nothing. Horns are kind of pretty badass, actually. We think of horns in terms of Pan, and like devils and gargoyles and stuff like that. But horns can also be a sign of authority. I think contextually it was lights, and I think that it was these horns of light were. People talk about like radiation from like an atomic bomb type of situation. That he was glowing because he was in the presence of Yahuwah. He was transfigured and he came down. He didn't know it. And that's the difference with Elijah, because he had no one to tell him, hey, dude, you're glowing, or like keep away from us. He was all alone. So by the time he was around people again, it could have been weeks later, days later. I don't really know. The glow would have worn off, but not so for Moshe. They had to put a paper bag over him, which again, doesn't really make sense. If it was horns, seems like they were trying to cover his skin. But anyways, he was there with Yahuwah 40 days and 40 nights, just like Elijah. We saw a commonality, same mountain, Sinai, 40 days, 40 nights, they're fasting. So basically, if you want to have visions and hear from Yah, you fast. You want to be badass righteousness, like try fasting for 40 days, 40 nights. Now, I'm a parent with children. That sounds like a death sentence. I might be able to do it. But yeah, like you are able to get you're by yourself. You don't have a family to take care of. You want to go off in the woods for 40 days and try that. You might get a serious encounter with Yahuwah. Who knows? You might even go outside of space and time. But anyways, I believe this is the other incident. So when Yahushua HaMashiach is speaking with Eliyahu and Moshe, I think it's these two incidents in history. I think there's a good case to be made for it. Moshe saw Yahusha in Bezorah Yochanan, the Gospel of John, and Yahusha says, "Do not think that I will accuse you to the Father. There is one that accuses you, even Moshe, in whom ye trust. For had ye believed Moshe, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But ye believe not his writings, how shall ye believe my words?" And so there's kind of interesting there that he's writing of him. And of course, he's writing of who? Yahuwah, right? And then we see, of course, one more passage in John. He says that no man has seen Allah Hayam. He's speaking of his Father at any time. The only begotten Son, which is in the bosom of the Father, he has declared him. So clearly Moshe and Eliyahu did not see the Father. They saw the Son. And that's it for tonight. Wow, I'm 3 minutes early finishing this. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope you guys gave you guys things to think about. And one last thing for those of you who have made it this far, just check out the link below this video to see how the Ministry and Widow Fund is coming along. We are now toward the last third of this month. We did great the first half, and now it's like we're getting into that territory. And I will tell everyone out there that once we fill the budget for this month, anything above that, again, will go towards Miss Pamela, and she really needs it. She is translating the Bible. She has finished Deuteronomy, but then she's going to begin another book. I don't know what the next book is. I'm hoping it's Song of Solomon, but it's up to her to decide. She's talked about doing Joshua. She's talked about doing Matthew, Revelation, Paleo-Hebrew translations. And she needs that support. And of course, we support Rebecca here. She runs the store. She edits books and put things out. She does so much work. I mean, she works way too much. I was on the phone with her telling her today, you need to stop working 6 days a week. She only takes Sabbath off. I'm like, can you please take an extra day off? Can you just, she's like, well, there's too much to do. I'm like, you know what? There will always be work to do, and then you're going to die. So whether you take that day off or not, there's still always things to just take that off. But anyways, we work very hard here. So thank you all for your support, for your prayers. We are still looking for ministry supporters to help us out. And we'll do this again next week. I got a lot of great content coming up. And one more reminder, guys, I really, really, really enjoy our Discord group. guys. It's free. Okay, you just show. I'm not taking your money. Okay, it's free. Every Friday night, 7 p.m., going to 9 p.m. We had a great discussion tonight. We do every single week. And I'd like to, if you haven't been there before, please come by next week. Think about it. Set it aside. I know that some of you are still getting off work if you're Pacific time. I know it's tough. But if you can make it, please consider coming by. And we'll do this again. Good night, everybody. Have a great Sabbath rest.